Scott Hamilton, welcome.
Oh, thanks. It's been a day.
It's been a year. How about that?
Yeah, 2020 has been kind of a whiff. It's like people are gonna look back on 2020 and they're gonna go, wow, man, that was just powerful and tragic and oh my goodness, it's just been you know, for for many it'll be a period of growth, personal growth. For others, it'll be, just looked upon with incredible tragedy and heart-wrenching stories. And man, it's been a really brutal year. And I think that's most of the reason why we decided to launch Live Your Days now, because it was created about 4 years ago. And we thought, well, it's not really the right time to do it. It just didn't feel right to present it. And then while we're in the middle of COVID, I got an email from 5x5, who we created this thing with, and they go, now? I go, now. So, anytime you can create a platform that's designed to encourage people and to remind people the power and of each day and how they can best participate in it, now is the right time to launch it.
So, Live Your Days is a podcast that you have had your days numbered by several doctors at several times in your life. And
Yeah.
you talk about this on your podcast. In your book, you say that it's not the number of days that we have on this earth, but what we do with them. And that's the whole premise of this podcast.
Yeah, and it sounds really kind of like, oh, okay, whatever. But it really is. When I was diagnosed with my third brain tumor, um, I say that casually. I realized that all at once that our bodies are incredibly vulnerable and fragile to many different things, and but also incredibly resilient, but ultimately temporary. Right? So knowing that we're only here for a period of time, let's get to work. I mean, let's just get as much as we can out of each day. And I kind of feel like, there's many people like me out there that have had, cancer and other debilitating things. I just felt like now is the time, and I felt uniquely qualified to be able to really remind people that today is a day to just squeeze some joy out of, and let's just do this together.
You have such a incredible story, and there's a few pieces that I want to touch on it with.
Yeah, sure.
So, but it all speaks to the credibility that you have to be doing a podcast like this. And part of it starts with, you were adopted as a small child. You had various health issues. In fact, I remember you talking about how the first day you took to the ice rink because the doctors told your parents they needed a break and they dropped you off at the ice rink for a little bit. You had like a feeding tube in your nose.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you describe what it must have looked like that you stood out just a little bit among the others.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, you come into a brand new skating rink at the Bowling Green State University, and there's probably 150 kids there, and everybody's excited to get on the ice and everything. And I walk in and they're like, ew, what's wrong with you? And it's like, what do you mean? And they go, you got a thing coming out of your nose. And it's like, you've never been fed through your nose before? It's like, well, like, come on, who's the weirdo here? It's like, really? Come on, everybody's fed through their nose, right? No, it was a supplement that I hated. It's like, it was chalk, pure chalk. And it wasn't like chocolate chalk or vanilla chalk. It was just chalk. And so I wouldn't drink it. And so we came up with a compromise to put a tube through my nose down my esophagus, and they would put the supplement through the tube. And it was like, win.
It just
win.
It speaks to your strong will. Even as a child, you're like, I'm not drinking that. So what's the plan B?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it turned me into a pathological liar. Like, I tell my mom, it's like, I'm going to gag. So I'm going to go in the bathroom and drink it. And of course, second I'm dumping it out in the sink. And it's like, I'm not going to drink that stuff. And so it was important that I had those supplements to kind of
Yeah.
whatever keep me alive. But it was when I found skating, it was like, wow, wait a minute, I can do something as well kids.
Mm.
I can do something as well as the best athletes in my grade. Okay, I want as much of this as I can possibly get. And, it's like, I try to remind people that self-esteem is probably the most powerful force in the universe. Because if you feel good about yourself, not like in an ego way and like I'm, but if you feel good about yourself, it kind of changes the air in the room. It like allows and it gives everybody else permission to kind of join in that with you. It's like everybody feels good, and you see, cases like that all the time. Like somebody walks in and they're in a great mood and it's like, thank you for that. Thank you. I needed that today. I needed somebody to kind of come in and just inject some positivity into my life. And so much of that is Live Your Days. It's more than a podcast. I call it a digital encouragement platform, because it's, we have a 30-day challenge. We've got, we set up a little shop in case people want to, get journals and t-shirts and sweatshirts. And I bought a bunch of stuff yesterday, and it's pretty cool. One of our logos, and it might take some explaining, is like an oak that was, when you cut a tree and you see all the rings, and all those rings kind of represent years of growth, years that may have not, had so much, it might have been a little bit of, toughness in those. And it's just sort of, it's like each one of those is a year. And it's sort of like, wow, days become years and years become lives. And it's, these are our days, and we just have to train ourselves how to live them joyfully and productively and abundantly and faithfully and in gratitude.
You say that your ultimate goal with this podcast is that it would just be like a friend. So wherever
Yeah.
someone is listening, it's literally like you're gifting someone, not just your friendship, but all of the wonderful guests that you have on. I know Robin Roberts is one of them. And then one of the artists that we play on our station, Bart Millard. Have you already recorded that one?
Bart knocked me down. Like every time I owe Bart a call, because we were supposed to get together a couple weeks ago. We've become friends, which is really bizarre, because I've heard that song 1,000 times. And then I meet him for breakfast to see if maybe he would do a skating show, live music skating show. And now we've done 5 together. And he's just like the best guy. But his whole life story, it comes out of the most horrible circumstance. Like if you saw the movie, I Can Only Imagine, he said, they tried to represent it as best they could, but basically, his dad was, a monster. And, this is a kid that broken family, child abuse, the whole deal. And he said, that his father was a man he feared and resented the most. And he also became the man he wanted to be. So their relationship was redeemed through cancer. And he just said, and then that part of our life together was too short. And he said something profound, and I just let people listen to it. But anyway, but no, I mean, he has this really interesting perspective on, just how people interact. And it was mind blowing, just the idea that he could rise above those circumstances, which would crush so many people and has destroyed lives. And he was able to kind of redeem that and notice within him those things about his father that he resented. And he saw that in himself, so it's a powerful story. Robin Roberts, powerful story. Kevin Nealon's story was amazing. Christy Yamaguchi, how do you become an Olympic ladies figure skating champion when you're born with club feet? It's like all these kind of rising above stories, like Miles Adcox, who runs Onsite. It's a mental health program. Brilliant guy. But how we all deserve to understand and be comfortable with ourselves. It's called a PhD in YOU, and it's just, it's meant to be nourishing, and it's meant to be entertaining, and it's meant to kind of, pull the curtain back and maybe see somebody that you're familiar with and getting to know maybe a little bit of something else about them. Vern Lundquist just turned 80 years old, and just, his history in sportscasting, unbelievable. And just our friendship, so dear. There's just been, and Marcus Whitney, basically flunked out after his first semester in college, decided he was going to have this other life. And, his brilliance and his work ethic just sort of disrupted all of that failure. And now he lives a life like no other. So it's meant to allow people to give themselves permission to rise above their circumstance and to choose, just choose their day, choose what kind of day they want to have.
It's just such a wonderful message. And you also share about it in your book, Finish First, which I love because, again, it's like a friend. I buy the audiobook, right? And it's because I want to hear you tell it. And
oh, wow.
You talk often about success is because of the failures. You've done the math on how many times you've fallen on the ice.
Yeah. 41,600 times minimum. But when you get up 41,600 times, you kind of like, you're not building that muscle of failure, you're building that muscle of resilience. And it's like, okay, I'll get up and try it again. I'll get up and try it again. And it's like, I try to tell people, because we're all paralyzed by failure. We're all kind of like, oh, it's just so toxic and disfiguring. And I tell people, what if failure was just information? Now, what does it look like? We don't have to like carry this thing around with us anymore. And it's just information. Okay, that didn't work. Okay, I just got some really strong feedback. Let's try something else, and it's in everything. And it's in, work, it's in relationships, it's in the way we interact with new people in our lives. It's the way we kind of go after understanding who we are and our faith. And it's all of that, and I try to remind people, different examples, like, what Thomas Edison only failed like 10,000 times. And if he hadn't kept going, there wouldn't be any light on in this room. It's like, if a baseball player only fails 2 out of 3 times, he's in the Hall of Fame. It's those types of things. And it's like, we all fail. If I do a speech and I say, okay, how many people in this room have failed? And if right. And if they don't raise their hand, it's either you're lying or you're not paying attention, because we all do. So if we all fail, let's just be comfortable with that.
Yeah.
And let's not think that we're some sort of loser if we fail. We're not. We're just learning, and we're just growing, and we're just trying to figure it out.
I know that other than your faith, which we share, which is your deepest inspiration, the second would be your mom. I love hearing you talk about her. And I love the fire that was lit inside of you after her passing, where you just wanted to take to the ice and make her proud. And that's where you saw some big gains. And then I also love the Scott Hamilton Cares Foundation, where you are just invested in what you say is making sure that no 18-year-old, if you could save an 18-year-old son from the pain of having to lose his mom, that's the motivation for you. You want to talk about your foundation, and first talk about your mom.
Yeah. Well, my mom, she was a 4x4. She was a little person that always kind of, she was brilliant. She, oh my goodness, she touched so many lives in her short life. She died at 49. She had a big smile on her face, and her face would kind of disappear in that smile. She always suffered with self-esteem, because she struggled with weight, and she struggled with the fact that she didn't really want to ever buy herself anything, because that all went to her kids. She was an amazing woman, and she really touched a lot of lives in an impactful way. And, she always got the joke, nothing was ever like a big deal, nothing was ever, she allowed us to kind of work it out and figure out where we needed to be and what we wanted to do. And she was very super sacrificial. So when she passed, I just felt like a huge part of me went with her. And my job was to figure out the best way I could carry her with me and the healthiest way to mourn her. So I walked around in our backyard, oh my goodness, must have been hours. And in that walk, I realized that the best way I can carry her with me is to try to be the person she always thought I could be or dreamed I could be. And it's this aspirational thing, right? It's not just this, okay, that's what I'm going to do. It's like, no, that's what I have to continue to do. And so when she passed, I became a fundraiser, and we raised a lot of money for cancer research. And then 20 years after I lost her, I'm diagnosed with cancer. And I remembered all the things she used to say, like this, chemo. She would say, oh, this chemotherapy, I finally found a way to lose all this weight, or, oh, this chemotherapy, I've wanted to quit smoking all these years. Now I have no desire. And, oh, this chemotherapy, and my hair has always been such an issue, but these wigs are so beautiful. And it was kind of like, yeah, that you choose how to go through whatever you're going through. And she taught me that in my own cancer. So no one was allowed in my room unless they made me laugh. And my nurse treated me like an 8-year-old, even though I was 38. And, it was just one of those things that if I could control the environment, that's how I was going to remember. Like, I remember the laughter more than I remember anything else. And so my mom was a huge influence in my life, and still to this day, I think how would she respond in this situation? And, the whole Live Your Days platform would really speak to the way that she lived her life. So, I always thought that, being kind of an oops, sort of an adopted child, if I could find a proven treatment for her form of cancer, I would know why I was born. And so we just keep going. And it's been hard. This COVID thing has been really hard on nonprofits. A lot of nonprofits have just folded up their tent. We are lucky that we were very fiscally responsible. So as much as I had lunch with my executive director yesterday, and she's got, she's losing a lot of sleep, we're able to kind of keep going with the work we're doing.
Well, I know that some proceeds from the merch that you're selling, that you're currently wearing and displaying, well done, go to benefit that. So everybody run, grab your Live Your Days logoed and the Scott Hamilton Cares Foundation. And just thank you so much for your time.
Oh man, are you kidding? Thank you. It's, we're just we're all in this together, right? I mean, we are all in this together, and it's kind of up to us to encourage each other. And if somebody trips, we help them up. And if someone is, sad, we try to, put a smile on their face. And, we all need encouragement. We all need, to know we're going to be okay. And in our current climate of a 24-hour news cycle and social media and everything else, I mean, it's been pretty toxic, and this whole COVID thing of never ending. People can lose hope. And so Live Your Days is meant to be sort of a destination and sort of that friend. And we're hoping to continue to build it and grow. It's a lot of work. Who knew? Right. But, I'm really proud of it. And, I just really hope it touches the person or people that it's really designed to touch.
The Live Your Days podcast, we'll link for it. Our digital team will do something fancy right here, like swipe up or tweet it or I don't know, just press a button, where to find it, wherever you find podcasts.
It's easy. I mean, we lucked out. We got the liveyourdays.com, so the URL is everything. And
that was still available.
Kind of. It's sort of a scam, right? But, we knew how important that it was. And so we navigated all of that. People got to make a buck, right? So, it's been a big investment of time and energy and everything else, but we were able to sort of, and it all kind of worked out, right? It's
Yeah.
just one of those things where if it's meant to be, it'll
Yeah.
be. And again, I'm just hoping that it ignites sort of a revolution of positivity, and for people to kind of understand that they've got the stuff and today's important. Let's do something with it.
I love it. I love how I keep trying to wrap it up with you and you make me laugh again. It's your own fault.
Well, thank you. I appreciate all the support and for getting it out in front of so many people. Thank you so much.